Right guys, Mark Crossfield here, TaylorMade Aero Burner driver mini testing. I've got the 12 degree. I've got some real ball data coming at you from GC2 HMT using my Pro V1X balls, the real ball I game. So we're going to show you some real ball data as well to show you what this Aero Burner mini could do in your golf bag. Is it the answer to straighter fairway, hitting more fairways and straighter drives? Is it a free wood replacement? What is it? It's a driver mini. What does it do? Let's get stuck in. Right guys, TaylorMade Aero Burner driver mini. I've got the 12 degree. We get the slot on the bottom, which is in all the Aero Burner stuff, so that's going to help keep the ball speeds up across more of the face. So if you're miss-hitting, the ball speed won't drop back as much, which hopefully will give you more consistent distance, is what they're saying. You get the white top to the black face, looks fantastic. You get these bobbly bits on the outside with this little kind of slivery kind of rail bit on top, which I do really like. I mean, I use this club in a 3-wood and I do buy into the looks of it. I think they make very good looking clubs, TaylorMade, and this one is stunning. It's got the little wing. Who doesn't love a wing on a golf club? What that does is, yeah, debatable, but I've got one and I love my wing, as I've said before in other videos. Sits lovely and square down by the ball. It's around a 200 and something cc head, I think. They're saying they've made more of a bigger face, so a bigger hitting area on the face, which is good, but you've got the small headed design. Sits lovely and square. You know, it looks really good. It basically looks like my 3-wood, but just a bit on steroids and not as aggressive as a driver, which is kind of where it is. It's a driver mini. It sits right in between those two clubs in theory. We're going to look at the numbers. I'm going to hit from the tee to start, so let's give it a whack and see what it feels like. Looking great down by the ball. Okay, it makes the sound I'd expect, almost exactly the same sound to my 3-wood. To be honest with you, apart from the visual looking like it's going further, a little bit longer, it feels exactly like my 3-wood. You know, it feels very easy to hit in the 2-wood area, or driver mini. Who's going to game it, I think, is the big question. I've actually put one in my bag, an older version, and I loved it while I had it, but I just, over time, as I started playing off variation and lies on the ground, I just find it wasn't working for me as a 3-wood replacement. It was working as a 3-wood replacement when it was sat perfectly, but it had to be sat so well. And then from the tee, I'm quite happy with my driver, and I think that's the main thing, isn't it? If you're happy with your driver, this isn't going to interest you as much maybe, but if you're not, it's going to be an option to replace your driver with this one possibly. Let's get another hit. It's a great flight. Absolutely loving the feel of that. And I mean, as I game this club already in a different loft, different length, as in the 3-wood, this is not hard for me to get used to. Let's just try one off the deck as well. We're going to show you some numbers. I've hit with GC2 HMT and my Titleist Pro V1X gaming ball, just to show you, I've hit a few different situations which I'll talk about in the test, so a bit more of a real test. So many testers and testing out there where people are just kind of whacking it out of their boots, which isn't really a test, is it? That's more just like an ego trip, rather. Because if you watch my course logs, I don't hit the ball as far as I can every shot. I'm gaming it, hitting fairway, hitting it harder and softer. So we'll show you what we've done in the test as well in a second. Let's give one a hit from the ground. I mean, I do feel like this is going to work from the ground, but I've got a pretty good lie here. I mean, that's absolutely a lovely flight. And if every lot ball, you knew it was always going to lie like that on the ground, yeah, I would game this one all day long, I think, because it would just give me, I would imagine, I'm going to hit one now from a slightly more down lie, and I'm now feeling like 3-wood would get out of that, but this one's going to be low and cutty. Yeah, that's come out not bad, actually. It's interesting. It's a good shape. I actually prefer it. I don't know if this is actually true. It just feels to me at the minute like this is more of a, you could game this from the fairway more than the old SLDR one which I had. It just feels a bit more Aero Burner-y, aerodynamic, down to the ground a bit more. Interesting. Let's look at some numbers then. I like it. I'm not sure who's going to get it. It's kind of almost the club for someone who's got every club, isn't it? And they just want to try everything. That's me in some ways. If this sat in my office, I can imagine there'll be some days where I think, yeah, I'm going to take this one out because I want a longer shot. with my second shot free wood from the deck. Or when I play really narrow courses and I don't want to hit my driver because they're not particularly long, but I want to go a bit further than my free wood, I might put it in my bag. It's so nichey, isn't it? Let's look at these numbers. Right guys, so numbers time. So I went from a tee to start and I was getting 230 average carry, topping out at 239, dropping back to 224 on variation of hits. 3.6 spin, so not the lowest spin at all. That's quite healthy. I'm now hitting a different shape for anyone who's not following my every video. I'm cutting the ball a little bit more, which promotes a little bit more spin. If I was drawing that, I reckon that would come down almost into the low 3000s, high 2000s, which arguably could be not enough from the deck. Launching at 15 degrees, I mean, and peaking out at 40 yards height. A 230 average carry is good. My free wood can get around there as well. It maybe comes in a bit lower launches, a little bit lower, my free wood, which might, well, wouldn't launch off a tee any lower because I'm hitting it from the ground. It might get me a little bit more run out, but I mean, it's going to be about 10 yards average further than my free wood, I would reckon. But my free wood does get those numbers sometimes as well. Interesting. Now, when I tried to hit it really hard, so I actually just tried to, you know, hit it without trying to hit target, I did actually hit target quite well. They were a little bit more to the right, but they were still within the realms of hitting target from the distance. They went 241. So you can see I'm getting 11 yards more distance there in situation. And this is what worries me about testing, and when people come for custom fits or I speak to them about them getting their fit, you've got to try and test in your mind in some situation. Hit the club how you would hit it on the course in your situation on a certain hole that you might play it. So many golfers and testers and people out there just nailing it as hard as possible. I don't quite see what that does. I mean, a robot could do that if you wanted to test how far it goes at max speed. So I mean, you can see there I've done it on two different situations. The gaming shot that I'm going to play 99% of the time is that 231. But I know if I wanted to step on it, I could get it 10 yards further. That's my club head speed. And recently went a little bit higher, launched a little bit higher. So when I hit it harder, I hit it a bit higher on the face. But 241 for a driver mini, which feels very accurate, is pretty good distance on the fly. And then I went from the deck. So from the deck was interesting. The launch went down to 13 degrees. Spin stayed at around 3.6. The peak height came down, so it started to act more like a three wood. And it dropped back to 227, which to be honest with you is about where my free wood sits. So for me, the driver mini is working well off the deck, well off the tee, but it's much more finding a hole in my set. So I have a driver and a free wood, which I'm happy with. I mean, I say a hole, it's barely a hole, is it? It's kind of got a sliver of an opening between the driver and the free wood with those numbers. Not enough to put it in my bag as a gaming club all the time, but it is maybe something I would put in again in situation. I want that 240 to 230 off the tee consistently, but I don't want to be hitting my driver. And I think for lots of golfers out there who maybe really struggle with a driver, and there's many of you, this is a club that you might try and just feel that you can hit fairway a bit more often. And if you look at your stats and if you collect data, which hopefully you're starting to, I did some great videos with Game Golf where it showed you how collecting data can help you really understand your game. You might find that you're hitting it 230 on average on the course, you're hitting your driver 250 on average on the course, but your fairways found are so much better with the driver mini to the driver that it might be something that you switch out. Again, I think it would be more situation. I can't see many people using a driver mini forever. You know, they always want to go back to their driver, I think, a little bit. So it's a good club, it's a very niche club. You've got to want it in situation. I think Podrick Harrington won with one of them in his bag, didn't he, at the start of the year, but I think he was using it in situation again for the course, maybe second shots or whatever it was. So it has its place, but it's certainly not going to be their biggest seller by a long way. Post comments down below. Is it a club you think you would try? Is it a club you think you'd use? It's something you just simply wouldn't? I'd love to hear. Thanks for watching as always. Post comments down below and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching. Find more videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Find me on Facebook, Mark Crossfield, also on Twitter at 4golfonline, and loads of fun pictures going up on Instagram at CrossfieldMark.